All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to follow an idea that starts with something you might hear in an art class, but ends up questioning, well, everything. It all kicks off with one simple, but really provocative statement about a color we all think we understand. So get this. There is no true black in nature. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? But what if that one little sentence has the power to unravel everything you thought you knew about how you see, what color is, and maybe even what reality itself is made of? So, first things first, we have to wrap our heads around the paradox of black. How can a so-called color actually be defined by the absence of color? It seems easy enough, but the deeper you dig, the weirder it gets. You can look at this in two ways, right? For an artist, black is what you get when you mix a bunch of pigments together, and each one soaks up different bits of light. For a physicist, black is a surface that just absorbs all the light that hits it. So in both of these worlds, black isn't really a thing on its own. It's what's left over when light gets taken out of the equation. And if you want to see just how impossible perfect black is, just look at Vantablack. It's one of the darkest materials we've ever cooked up in a lab. It absorbs an incredible 99.965% of visible light. But that's the whole point, isn't it? It's not 100%. Even this amazing piece of science can't get all the way there. Absolute, perfect black is just an idea, an ideal, not something you can actually hold in your hand. Okay, so if perfect black is basically impossible, what does that say about all the other colors? The reds, the blues, the greens. To figure that out, we need to take a quick look at the standard ways science explains how we see anything at all. The normal model is pretty simple. You've got light, photons, flying out from the sun. They hit an object, let's say a red apple. The apple's skin absorbs every wavelength of light except the ones that look red to us. Those red wavelengths bounce off, fly into your eye, hit the cone cells in your retina, and then your brain takes those signals and literally creates the experience you call red. The color isn't out there on the apple. It's made inside your head. And this brings us to this really crucial, kind of trippy philosophical idea called qualia. It's just the fancy word for that personal internal feeling. We can both look at that apple and agree to call it red, but I will never, ever know if your internal experience of redness feels the same as mine. It's totally private, totally subjective. Okay, so that's the established science. It all seems to make sense, it's logical, but this is the moment where our whole explainer pivots. What if that entire way of thinking is completely backward? And this leads us to the heart of the whole theory, this idea of a world that isn't made of colors at all, but is actually made of black. Just let that one sink in for a minute. This is the big claim. The theory proposes that the universe isn't some blank canvas that light paints colors onto. No. Instead, it suggests the entire universe is fundamentally black, and light is just the flashlight that reveals all of its different textures. So how would that even work? Well, step one, just assume everything, all matter, is black by default. Step two, every single object has its own unique microscopic surface texture. Now, when light hits that texture, it's not reflecting a color, it's simply revealing a unique quality of that object's inherent blackness. And then our brain takes these different qualities, these different shades of black, and interprets them as what we call red, blue, or green. And here is the part that just completely bends your mind. In this model, when you see red, your brain isn't processing a wavelength of light. It's experiencing a very specific type of blackness that's being revealed on that specific surface. So every color you've ever seen is just a different flavor of black. Now, I know this sounds like pure philosophy, but the theory actually gets some fascinating support from an experience that pretty much all of us have had. An experience that seems to totally shatter the normal rules of physics. Just think about this little puzzle. Okay, rule number one, to see color, you need light photons hitting your eyes. We all agree on that. But observation number two, we see amazingly vivid, rich, saturated colors in our dreams. That's the contradiction, right? Because there are no photons bouncing around inside your skull when you're asleep. This means our brain can just generate the entire experience of color all by itself. It can be a purely internal show. So, what this really means is that your mind isn't just a passive window looking out at the world. It's also an active projector that can create a whole reality from the inside out. Your brain doesn't just receive experiences, it literally generates them. And this realization, well, it leads us to our final and by far the most speculative question. If one single human brain can generate a totally convincing reality all on its own, what does that imply about the big reality we all seem to share when we're awake? We know it's a fact. A single person's mind can cook up a whole, colorful, realistic world while they sleep. So could it be that all of reality is basically the same thing, just on a much, much bigger scale? You know, this isn't some brand new idea. It's an ancient concept that you find in all sorts of philosophies all over the world. Sometimes it's called the dream of God. And it's the idea that our entire shared reality is actually just the internal world of a single cosmic mind. And if you go down this path, we aren't just characters living in the dream. We are parts of the dream itself. We're mental projections inside a vast consciousness. And that, of course, brings up the ultimate question. Are we making our own choices, or are we just playing out a role that's already been written for us? So, we started with a simple thought about the color black, and we've ended up here with one of the biggest questions you can possibly ask. The next time you look at something red, just ask yourself, am I really seeing a wavelength of light, or am I just perceiving a unique shade of a universal black inside a dream being dreamt by a mind I can't even begin to imagine?